Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today here on the channel, we're going to be talking about the Ring Trilogy and its brand new Scream Factory 4K Blu-ray release. So the original Ring from 2002 is actually one of my favorite horror films of all time. Only two horror films have ever scared the absolute hell out of me. The first one was Poltergeist, and the second one was The Ring. And that's probably because I saw it at 10 years old when it was originally released in 2002. And it's really funny because the original Ring film revolves around a cursed videotape. It's a remake of a 1998 Hideo Nakata film called Ring, which really took the world by storm, really put J-horror on the map, along with The Grudge. And actually, it's funny because Hideo Nakata would actually end up directing The Ring 2 here in the United States, just like he directed Ring 2 over in Japan. But the United States version of The Ring was directed by Gore Verbinski. It stars Naomi Watts, David Dorfman, because we were just trying to make him a thing in the early 2000s, and Brian Cox. And just like Ring from 1998, this one revolves around a cursed videotape, a videotape that if you watch it, you're going to receive a phone call, and on the other end, you're going to hear a girl say, and this movie, like I said, is just absolutely petrifying. The score itself, which was done by Hans Zimmer, and I think that really does help to add to the atmosphere of it. And also this blue-green filter that they put over this really helps it to stand out in the crowd. Now, they were doing a lot of this in horror films in the 2000s. It all comes from the 2000 film directed by the Coen brothers, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, where we really started to learn about color correction, and they just took it to the next level with The Ring. And I really think out of all these horror films that were using filters throughout the 2000s, The Ring did it the best because the cinematography for this movie really does also help it to stand out in a world of so many generic horror films. I think the cinematography for this one, along with the great score, and really good acting. People seem to forget that at the time in the early 2000s, Naomi Watts was amazing. This is 1 year after she did Mulholland Drive, which really put her on the map, but she fell off pretty fast after those two movies. She would eventually come back for The Ring 2 as well, but The Ring really was iconic. I mean, this movie cost about $50 million to make. It ended up making about $250 million at the box office, so it was a huge success. I remember how it was here in the United States. Everybody was talking about The Ring. Everyone was talking about, have you seen The Ring? The Ring is the scariest movie that I've ever seen. I mean, I was in middle school at the time, so we were just all talking about it, and everyone was petrified. This really was one of those water cooler films that everybody was just talking about at the time. And The Ring was just so successful, we have to make a sequel, right? That's just what we do in Hollywood. A movie that makes about $200 million more than its budget, we're making a sequel, and we bring in the original director, the director who directed Ring and Ring 2 over in Japan, Hideo Nakata, and he comes in replacement of Gore Verbinski, who didn't come back for this film. And I just really feel like, and even the director has said himself, that studio interference from Paramount ruined The Ring 2, and you really can see that on the screen, because The Ring 2 just feels like a complete cash grab. We get rid of the filter, so right away it just looks like a regular old-fashioned generic horror film. That beautiful blue-green filter gives way to just regular old-fashioned generic filmmaking. Even The Ring 2 is horribly edited. I mean, my god, you notice all the edits in this movie. The thing about a good edit is you don't notice the edits. If you notice the edits, then the editor did a bad job. And when it comes to The Ring 2, it is one of the worst edited films I have ever seen. They cut in like the worst times. Like, we'll do like a nice around the backside of the car shot, then we'll cut to her getting in the car. There was no reason. We just saw her getting in the car. There was no reason to have a cut there. So the editing was really frustrating. The cinematography was really frustrating, which the score only stands out when they use some of the Hans Zimmer music from the original one, because the score for this one, again, just like the cinematography, feels very generic. The acting is not as good as the original film, and our story, which closed out so well in the original Ring film, decided, you know what, we got to play around with these rules. At the very end of the original Ring film, we kind of set up this new plot point where if you make a copy of the tape and you pass that copy along, now Samara skips you and she won't come after you, even though in the original one, as long as you saw the tape, she was coming after you. You had 7 days to figure this all out. In this one, all you gotta do is make a copy, so we're really leaning into that in the second film.
Emily, what the hell did you do?
I played it, I just didn't look.
You know, I got a little bit nostalgic for the second film. I'm not going to lie to you guys, mainly because of the clothes that everybody was wearing, and I got to see a nice CRT TV in there. But you know what? The Ring franchise does support physical media. We're keeping VHS alive. They have a nice VHS collection at the motels or whatever the hell those are in the original film, and then this one, we get this beautiful CRT TV, perfect for watching VHS. But in 2005, guys, I love VHS.
I mean, they read my engine.
VHS was pretty much done by 2005, all right? Everybody had a PS2. Actually, in 2005, the Xbox 360 was coming out. We were only 1 year away from Blu-ray, so it's still being on a VHS. It doesn't make all the sense in the world, and eventually when we get to Rings, we know that Samara has the ability to rescan this stuff anyway and upload it to wherever she wants to upload it to, so I think she could have made better use of, transferring this VHS to DVD, because I think it would have made a little bit more sense in 2005, but the entire movie itself doesn't really make much sense anyway. Samara just really wants a mother, and she's going to find a way to possess Aiden and get to Naomi Watts' character. And that's really the plot of this movie. It has some of the worst CGI you'll ever see. The deer scene is incredibly horrible. I mean, the CGI in that scene is some of the worst CGI you'll ever see. To go along with the terrible editing, score, and cinematography, we throw in some awful mid-2000s CGI, which they try and use a couple times in this film. And really, for me, there is no saving grace to this film. And it's really funny because Roger Ebert actually gave this film a positive review. Well, in comparison to the first one, he actually liked this one more than that. And as much as I love Roger Ebert, he's one of my favorite film critics of all time, he's really not the best judge when it comes to horror. He was just bashing 80s slashers films forever. I understand why he might like this one a little bit more than The Ring, but still. When you watch The Ring and The Ring 2 back to back, it's night and day. The Ring is a classic horror film, while The Ring 2 is one of the worst horror films that I have ever seen. And that's why we left this one on the back burner for 12 years, and it wasn't until 2017 they decided to dust off the franchise for 2017's Rings. Finally bring this to the modern age. And this film, if you would have told me that this wasn't written as a Ring film and they just decided to throw in Samara and make it feel like a Ring film after it was already written, I would believe you, because this just feels like a very generic plot that they just kind of morphed into a Ring film. Even though they try and lean into some of the big story points of the first two films, it also feels like they made a hard right turn on a bunch of different stuff, mainly because we find a little bit about Samara's original birth mother in The Ring 2, and now we're diving deeper into that with the Rings film, and it pretty much undoes everything we learned in The Ring 2, so making that film feel even more obsolete. And as far as that goes, The Ring 2 was already a bad film, and now you're just completely ignoring it to make this Rings film, which I assume they were trying to, get another franchise going, but the movie just feels so generic. I will admit, though, Rings is a better film than The Ring 2, in my opinion, and it's amazing because we get actors like Vincent D'Onofrio and Johnny Galecki in this movie, and Vincent D'Onofrio is trying. He does the best he possibly could, but it just doesn't make all the sense in the world, this film. It really doesn't. It's poorly written, but Vincent D'Onofrio, at least he's doing a good job acting, and everybody else just feels like they're sleepwalking through this movie. Johnny Galecki, who I always loved Johnny Galecki, and he just feels like he just showed up on set and was like, fine, I'll read the lines, and that's how everybody else feels in this movie except for Vincent D'Onofrio. At least he's trying, and I'll give him credit for that. It just doesn't feel like a Ring movie. It really does feel like a Ring cash grab movie, and it's actually shot pretty decent when you compare it to like modern horror films. They at least tried. I think the score itself was a little bit better. I think they put a little bit more effort into Rings. I just don't think it worked. I don't think everybody had their heart into it, but it doesn't feel as bad as The Ring 2, but really that's a low bar to hit. It's still a pretty bad movie. Rings, it's more generic and forgettable, where The Ring 2 just feels like a bad movie. So we've gotten 3 Ring movies, and only the original Ring is a classic in the horror genre, where it's got 2 bad to awful sequels, and really the only one that still stands out after all these years, 22 years later, is the original Ring. But how is this Scream Factory 4K Blu-ray box set that just came out? Well, that's what we're going to talk about right now. So here it is, the Ring Trilogy on 4K Blu-ray, which is really nice. I actually reviewed this Ring Steelbook that came out a couple years ago here on the channel back in 2022, which is just an updated version of the scan that was floating around for a very long time, since I believe 2012. They just repackaged it in this beautiful Steelbook. But in my review at the time, I said I really wish this would have been a 4K because this scan needs an update. I guess Scream Factory was listening and they gave us this beautiful 4K trilogy of films right here with this amazing packaging, and that's where we're gonna start. And if you picked out Shout Select's release of JFK from last year, it's the exact same packaging, no difference, same hard casing on the exterior. You get 3 individually packed cases inside, whereas this one, it's just one film, but in the Ring Trilogy, each one of them has a 4K Blu-ray and a Blu-ray, so if you were to come inside, you're gonna find a 4K Blu-ray, a Blu-ray inside of each. So here's the Ring. You come inside, you get 1 4K disc, 1 Blu-ray disc. The Ring 2, you get 1 4K disc and 1 Blu-ray disc. And then Rings, you get 1 4K and 1 Blu-ray disc. So the packaging right away is great. I love the packaging. That, along with some of the visuals, are some of the standout features in this entire release. All of your extras for all of these films are going to be on the Blu-ray release. None of the extras are going to be on the actual 4K discs themselves, except for The Ring 2, which features a brand new audio commentary track. So if you are a fan of The Ring 2, you get a new audio commentary track that you can listen to on the 4K Blu-ray disc. And as far as the audio tracks go, these are all previously released audio tracks. So when it comes to The Ring, you have a DTS HD 5.1, a DTS HD 2.0. When you get to The Ring 2, you have a DTS HD 5.1 with a DTS HD 2.0. And then when you get to Rings, you actually have a DTS HD 7.1 along with a DTS HD 2.0. And how are these extras? Well, there really aren't any new extras except for one documentary on the new Ring Blu-ray, which wasn't previously released. Other than that, all the extras are brand new. And that new documentary, it's actually pretty long. It's over an hour long. And they really do a good job breaking down the Ring franchise. You get the writer of the first two Ring films on there as well. And I really do think that that was the best that we possibly could have got. The only thing is we didn't really get as many interviews as I was hoping for. You know, I would have liked really more with Naomi Watts. The only interview from Naomi Watts are previously released ones. All of those interviews are really packed in on those previously released featurettes, which really aren't that long at all, you know, anywhere from like 5 to 12 minutes. And that's the same thing with The Ring 2. All of those featurettes are really, really short. There's even a making of The Ring 2 documentary on there. It's like 4 minutes long, so it's really nothing that impressive. Same thing when you get to Rings. It's all separated into a bunch of little featurettes, and again, none of them are new. Especially when it comes to Rings, it just feels like that stuff is more promotional material more than anything. It's really not like an honest look back on the film. And I get that. The movie's only 7 years old, and it really failed at the box office. Same thing with The Ring 2. Like, that movie was financially successful, even though it didn't do as good as the original Ring. It still did pretty good numbers at the box office, but you still can't really drag anyone in there to look back at The Ring 2, except for those film critics who I guess actually enjoy The Ring 2, and some people do enjoy The Ring 2. So if you enjoy The Ring 2, I think you're actually going to be very happy with the release, because when it does come down to the audio tracks are all really, really good, but they're just nothing special. Just like I said in my original The Ring review, when I reviewed the Blu-ray, I thought that the audio track was really good, but I just thought it needed a little bit more. It needs a little bit more bass to it. I think it could have made better use of the channels. It just doesn't feel like anything special. And then when you get to The Ring 2, actually, that DTS HD 5.1 is mixed a little bit better than the audio track on The Ring. I actually thought they did a better job of it. Even though in The Ring 2, they try and recreate that iconic jump scare scene from the original Ring, which I think is only second to the jump scare in The Exorcist 3. They try to do it in the second one, but the stinger doesn't hit as good as it does in the original Ring.
I saw her face.
But the audio should have been a little bit louder as well. That's a minor complaint. I actually think they did a pretty good job when it comes to the audio design on the Ring 2. A little bit better mix than the original Ring when it comes to the audio track. And then actually it's funny, when you get to Rings, you get a DTS HD 7.1, and that one is mixed really, really, really good. They actually did a great job on that mix. You know, it's more of a modern mix. That one makes better use of your bass. Probably the best use of bass throughout all three films. I actually think that was the best mix. I know a lot of people are going to feel like they wasted the best mix on the worst film.
We wasted the good surprise on you.
All right.
That was done back in 2017, whereas the other ones were done before that. So unfortunately, because that's the newest track, it's the one that's the best, just almost by default. We really should have gotten updates to these audio tracks, in my opinion. But even though we didn't, they're still all good. I don't want to sell them short. It's just that they could have been something special, especially when it comes to The Ring. That movie, like I said, is the only iconic one in this entire set. That one deserved a bigger audio upgrade, in my opinion. Now, the thing that got the biggest upgrade for all of these films are brand new 4K scans. And a lot of people are buying this, including myself, just for The Ring, to see how that upgrade is. And I'm actually pretty happy to report that I thought that the upgrade to 4K with HDR10 and Dolby Vision for The Ring was really, really, really good. Was it the best upgrade I've ever seen in my life? No, it wasn't. And this is actually one of the times where I thought that the Dolby Vision was better than the HDR10. I thought that the Dolby Vision was much brighter than the HDR10, because it's really not the brightest 4K Blu-ray overall, especially if you're watching it with HDR10. I think a lot of people are expecting this to be a little bit brighter, and they might have some complaints about the HDR, but I actually think it's still really good for what this film is. It was never a very bright film to begin with. Like I said, it's got that blue-green filter over everything. So if you're not a big fan of that, you might take you out of it, but there are some gorgeous shots in this 4K Blu-ray. Like when the sun is shining through those orange leaves when we first see Naomi Watts at that cabin, or the rain hitting the outside of the glass when Aiden's in the car and we see the rain running down just the side of the windows. Those shots look absolutely gorgeous on 4K Blu-ray. They look even better with Dolby Vision on them. And those shots shots do stand out because, like I said, the original Ring actually was trying to be a very creative film with great cinematography, and I think they nailed it. Whereas when we get to The Ring 2, they really became over-reliant on CGI like a lot of horror films did at that time. The cinematography becomes very generic when we get to The Ring 2. The only thing is if you were to compare the HDR10 and Adobe Vision on The Ring 2 to The Ring 1, The Ring 2 actually looks better and is actually the better 4K Blu-ray. You know, we do take off that filter, which I think actually hurts the film overall, but I think it might actually have helped to improve the 4K Blu-ray, taking off that green-blue filter, because now everything looks even clearer. And one thing about this is, for all three films, the sharpness is fantastic. I really do think that these films look crisp and clear, clearest that they've ever looked. And the first two films were actually filmed on 35mm film, where we get to the third film, that was actually filmed in 3.4K digital, so we're actually upscaling that to 4K Blu-ray and then downscaling that for the Blu-ray. And you actually can't compare the Ring 2 to a previous Blu-ray because the Blu-ray that's packed in here is also the first time it's been released on Blu-ray. The Ring 2 had only been previously released on DVD, so this is the first time it's even on Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray, but the Ring, it had been previously released on Blu-ray, like I said, and it is a pretty big upgrade, even if you go from the Blu-ray to the new pack-in Blu-ray with the new scan of it. Just don't expect the biggest jumps in quality, whereas with the Ring 2 having only been previously released on DVD, you're going to see the biggest jump in quality when it comes to that film. And Rings looks great on 4K Blu-ray as well, but like I said, the Ring 2 and Rings, you know, it's really going to come down to how do you feel about those films? Are you a fan of those films? For me, I only wanted the Ring on 4K Blu-ray. That's what I was looking forward to the most. I'm very happy with the jump in quality when it comes to the visuals. Even though I don't think it's the biggest jump that you've ever seen when it comes to the visual quality, I still think it's a noticeable jump. I still think that some of the shots in this film definitely made my jaw hit the floor. I can honestly see some people being a little bit disappointed with the jump of it. You know, they probably were looking for something that would have been reference quality, but you don't really get that here. Now, the Ring 2 actually is a really solid 4K Blu-ray. The visuals are stunning on that one, and honestly, that one has the best visuals overall out of all three of these films. It also has the second best audio. Even though The Ring is the best film in here, the 4K quality is probably the weakest out of all of them, even though it's still a great film, and it's going to be the one you're going to be running back to the most. Unless you are a fan of The Ring 2 and Rings, if you are a fan of those movies, then you are going to be very happy, because the audio quality for Rings and the visual quality, it's also very well done. I just wish that the quality of the films for The Ring 2 and Rings would have matched their 4K Blu-ray quality, whereas the 4K Blu-ray quality of The Ring, I wish would have matched up. But it's not the biggest difference between all three films, but if I'm being honest, the best 4K Blu-ray in here is The Ring 2, the second best is Rings, and the worst is unfortunately The Ring, even though that is the best film by far in this entire 4K Blu-ray box set. And how would I rate these 4K Blu-rays? Well, if I was going to give a score to The Ring, I would give The Ring still a really solid 8.5 out of 10. And The Ring 2, I would give an 8 out of 10, because that does have the best visual quality, even if it has the second best audio quality, and the extras are still really good. That one also received a new commentary track, so that got a little bit of attention to detail as well, so I can't drop that one below an 8 out of 10. And then for Rings, you know, we get great audio on here, the visuals are really good, but the film itself is just very forgettable, very generic. The extras are just a bunch of featurettes, so if I was going to rate the 4K Blu-ray of just Rings on its own, I would give that one a 7.5 out of 10. But how would I rate this entire package on a score of 1 to 10? And this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because this is very expensive at the moment. If you're buying it right through Shout Factory's website, I believe it's like $75. You could probably get it for cheaper on Amazon or buying it from a different third-party site, but that is still very expensive. And for a lot of people, including myself, if you only want The Ring on 4K Blu-ray, maybe down the line it'll get released on its own, but right now this is the only way you can get the original 2002 horror classic The Ring on 4K Blu-ray, is packed in with 2 and 3. And I didn't want to see The Ring 2 and 3, and I probably won't watch The Ring 2 and 3 for a very long time after this. I don't see any reason to run back to those. I thought The Ring 2 is one of the worst horror films ever made. It is by far one of the worst sequels in a world of bad sequels that I have ever seen. Rings is just very forgettable, so to even have those packed in here, yes, I really do appreciate that jump in quality, and if you are a fan of those films, and you're a fan of the entire trilogy as a whole, then I definitely do think it's worth your money, despite not getting big upgrades to the extras and no updates to the audio. I do think it's still worth your money if you're a fan of all three films. But if you're only a fan of The Ring like myself, I would definitely recommend you guys wait for a sale when it comes to this one, because it's not the biggest jump in quality, and because we don't really get too many new extras. And I know not everybody's a big extras fan like myself, but if you are, don't expect too many new ones. That new documentary is really cool, but is that enough to sell you on this if you're only a fan of the original Ring? That's really going to come down to you. And overall, if you're not a fan of the other two films, I would say definitely wait for a sale. When this one drops down to like $45, I feel like that is the perfect sweet spot for this. But as of right now, how would I grade this on a score of 1 to 10? I would still give this one a really solid 8.5 out of 10. I definitely think that Shout Factory put as much effort as they possibly could in here, but unfortunately it's not perfect, and it is just a little bit too expensive for me to give it a full recommendation. But they did a good job in a lot of different places, and I do think that this is the best that any of these Ring films have ever looked. But guys, it's also Monday, and that means it's time for our digital code giveaway. So I'm going to kick this over to Future John right now. And that is correct, John. It is Monday, and that means it is time for our digital code giveaway. In every single video we do on Friday, we ask you guys 2 digital code giveaway questions. All you have to do is answer one of those questions in the comment section below. As long as you did that, you come back to the video we put out every single Monday. This video right here, we put your name on a magic wheel, we spin it 2 times, the 2 names it lands on, they have their choice of the digital codes you've seen on your screen before you today. And we asked you guys, what was a better film, The Fast and the Furious or Point Break? And Point Break just ran away with it. I think we only had 1 or 2 votes for The Fast and the Furious. I do appreciate both films, but Point Break is in my heart. Point Break is one of my favorite action films of all time. And I've really grown to love the Fast and the Furious franchise, but to me, the original one did rip off Point Break in a lot of ways, but that's actually fine. It doesn't seem like too many people are complaining about it, and you know what? The Fast and the Furious, the original Fast and the Furious film, is still my favorite of that franchise. I still go back to it every few years, and I still really, really enjoy it, but Point Break is one of those special action films. And I also asked you guys, what was your favorite action film from 1990 to 2010? And those answers were all over the place. I don't think we doubled up on anything really, maybe The Dark Knight, but everybody had their own choice. Everyone has their own favorite action films from the last 20 years. Everybody has different taste in film, and we could just really appreciate that. And before we spin the magic wheel today, you know, the Academy Awards were last night. Not everybody enjoys the Oscars, but you know, even though I don't put all my stock into the Academy Awards, I still get caught up in the moment. I get caught up in all the spectacle and the speeches and the clips, and I really enjoyed last night's show. I already knew that Oppenheimer was going to win a ton of awards, and thankfully they did. Robert Downey Jr., Cillian Murphy, Christopher Nolan got a Best Director Academy Award. Hoyt Van Hoytema, who actually is the cinematographer for Oppenheimer, won Best Cinematography at the Academy Awards. Well deserved, the best shot film of last year, and he brought up the fact that Hollywood needs to start making films on film again. You know, we've really shifted towards digital. Only certain directors get that ability to make films on film, and it's a money thing. Film costs a lot more money. You need time for it to develop. When you shoot on digital, you know, we could just look at it right there, and if you don't like it, you could just delete it. Whereas film, if it's not good, it's not good. You know, we could recycle film, but if it's garbage, it's garbage. Unfortunately, you know, you just lost a whole day's worth of work. You don't know if it's good or not. That's why they had dailies, but you cannot argue with how film looks. We talk about it a lot here on the channel with physical media and how 35mm, 70mm film just transfers so well to the 4K format. Meanwhile, digital looks fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Some directors and cinematographers do some great job with digital cinematography. We're looking at you, David Fincher and Guillermo del Toro. They make great use of digital cinematography. Some of their films come out amazing, and they're the best ones working with that today. Whereas, you know, Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino, they still work with film, and I just think you can notice the beauty in film a little bit more. You could just do so much more when it comes to the film format. I couldn't agree more with the guy. I hope Hollywood starts to spend a little bit more money on film, but I know that they're struggling right now, Hollywood, and they're probably not going to make a budget for film unless they know that the film is going to be successful, like Oppenheimer and Christopher Nolan. It's almost a guarantee at this point. So congratulations to everybody who won an Academy Award, including my favorite actress of all time, Emma Stone. And enough of me rambling on. Let's spin this magic wheel and see who our 2 lucky winners are. All right, congratulations, William Maldonado. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correct, buddy. You have won in the past. You've actually been supporting us almost since the beginning, so congratulations. And Planet Bazar Productions, who's been supporting us for quite a bit of time now. Congratulations, buddy. Thank you so much for entering into the digital code giveaway. Thank you, everybody who entered into this week's digital code giveaway. If you didn't win, don't worry about it. We do this every single week, so make sure you come back to this Friday's video so we can do it all over again. And if you are one of the lucky winners, make sure you reach out to me at letstalkentmt@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on the artist formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Direct message me. Let me know which of the digital codes you want. As long as the other winner didn't take them, that digital code is all yours. And guys, we want to just thank you so much for supporting Let's Talk. And if you want to continue to support Let's Talk, the best thing to do is just like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video, turn notifications on. That stuff really helps YouTube to spread the videos out. The algorithm is a real thing, or you can help support the channel financially. We have a friends of the channel tier, we have a producers tier, that's where you're going to find John Doe Juggalo, Jason Martin, and Mr. Smelly Potato. We also have a directors tier, that's where you're going to find Frank's Media and Reviews, who also has a great YouTube channel you guys should go check out as well. But if you got no money to throw our way, don't worry about it. We just appreciate you guys checking out this video, and we really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, don't forget to get out in those streets and tell your friends about us. And then after that, we'll be seeing you around.